Hi everyone and welcome to or welcome back to Stitches Past 5. My name is Vera and today I am filming my first knitting podcast of 2025, which is very exciting because I haven't done one in a while, just because it's been the holiday and I've been traveling and so on and so forth. So therefore I actually have a lot of things to share with you today. So I've been traveling, so the projects I've been working on have kind of been a little bit smaller, but I've also been able to finish some larger projects, and I've also made quite a few acquisitions that I'm super excited to share with you later on. But yeah, I think I'll just get right into it and I'll show you I have two finished projects today. I'll show you my first finished project. So my first finished project is the zipper sweater light by PetiteKnit. This one I've kind of shared my process of like throughout these knitting podcasts, and I've also made like a whole own video about like my process of making this. And it's finally finished. So I installed this zipper and I ended up ordering more yarn because I think I used around 510 grams in the end of the blue face Leicester fleece. I worked this whole thing on 4mm needles, and I could have stretched the yarn that I had maybe by substituting some, but then I just went for, ordering an extra skein because I just knew that that would spare me a lot of stress and kind of, make this a sweater that is actually wearable and nice. So this is the end product. So it's essentially ribbing on the sleeves and at the bottom, and then some ribbing at the top, and this zipper installation. It is a top-down sweater worked with the raglan on the shoulders, and then the zipper is like the last thing that you install. This pattern is by PetiteKnit and it is the light version of the pattern. So the gauge is 20 stitches in 10 centimeters. I think the non-light version has a lot fewer stitches, and then I've read like before that it is quite bulky and not really indoor sweater, so then that's why I opted for the light version. The yarn I used was, like I said, the Blue Face Leicester fleece, which is 100% British wool, and it's not scratchy at all. Like, this has turned into such a lovely sweater. This is not for myself. My partner wears this sweater and he has worn it a bunch of times. He really enjoys it. He really enjoys the zipper on it, and he also enjoys it just like kind of a lighter knitted sweater, if that makes sense, because he has another one or two other ones that are a little bit thicker. So this is a really nice alternative for him, and it also just lays really nice on him because of the collar. And yeah, so I'm really happy that this is finally finished. It did take a while because it is like very large, like as you could see, it's huge. And yeah, it is 20 stitch gauge, so it is a little bit like of a smaller gauge for such a large sweater. The zipper installation was okay. Like, I did definitely take like a few tries of pinning it down, and I got it to lay like almost perfectly flat. So you'll see like there's like a tiny little wave here. But it's really fine, and when he wears it, it's not really that noticeable. So yeah, overall super happy with how this turned out. The only modification I made to the pattern was that I did a pearl twisted stitch for the ribbing instead of normal ribbing one by one. So I twisted the pearl stitch to make it look like this, mainly just because I wanted to try it out. Like, I didn't really have any other reason for it, to be honest, but I tried it and it turned out nicely, so I kind of just kept it. I think one more thing to mention was a zipper I purchased was just at my local convenience store, or at the drugstore I guess you would say, and it is a YKK branded zipper, so nothing like fancy, nothing special, but I think it works really well. It has like this, like, what is this color, like rust or brownish color, and yeah, so super happy with this. I think it like fleece a little bit, like the stitches are defined, but like I have a feeling that over time it will become a little bit more like fleece-like, but I think that's really fine. So the second, I'm gonna say almost finished project, because I literally finished it like on a flight on Sunday, so just a few days ago, is this, and this is the not so mini scarf. essentially I was in my old like childhood room and I found some yarn that was literally like in the old German currency. So it's been like, this yarn is over probably 30-40 years old, because my guess is my grandmother owned it. And it is a 90% polyester and 10% Angora wool. So Angora is a type of like rabbit that the fur is, or was I guess, used to make wool. You don't really see Angora much around anymore now. It is a very short fiber, so you need to like mix it with something, usually polyester or something like that. And this is kind of like what it turned out as. I used 3mm needles and the yarn was very like thin, so it is quite like airy and light. This all in all is around about like 25 to 27 grams. I mean, I haven't weaved in the ends, but it's not gonna get like that much different. And I'm really like happy with it. It's this pink color, and the pattern I used was The Simple Thing by, I think her name is Melina Brell or something like that. I'll link it below. So it's a really simple, like just a regular like I-cord on the edge, and then a garter stitch just for the like back and forth of the scarf that increases and decreases on either side. So I guess I can either wear it like very loosely like this, there we go, or I can tie it around twice because it is long enough and wear it as a regular mini scarf like this. So yeah, I think the color is really fun. It's like a light pink. Literally the only reason I made this was because it was something light, it was something airy. I was traveling like in the tropics, so I didn't feel like making big sweaters or having a lot of like things on me. And this was just a really nice, mindless project that I could take on a plane that I didn't need to refer to a pattern to a lot of the time. So I'm gonna block it, and then I'll call it like finished, but I think for now it's like basically almost finished. With the pattern, I did make like a lot of modifications. Like I changed my increases, I changed my decreases. I did the cast on differently. So I don't know even if you could say that I used the pattern, but at least that's the pattern that I was referencing, because I have used it in the past to make mini scarves. But yeah, so that is my second finished or almost finished item, I guess. A mini scarf that's not so mini, like it's quite long as you can see. Okay, now moving on to my works in progress, and there are quite a few here, so bear with me. The first one is another PetiteKnit pattern, and it currently looks like this. Oops. Ta-da! So you might recognize it. It is the Terrazzo or Terrazzo, I don't really know how you pronounce it, neck. And for it, I'm holding two like strands of yarn together. Okay, and the two yarns that I'm holding together is these two. So it is the Schachenmeyer Merino Extrafine 120, and then I'm holding it with this one, and it is the Lana Grossa Bella. So the Schachenmeyer Merino Extrafine 120 is a 100% wool, merino wool yarn by the company Schachenmeyer. And I'm holding it like with this one. It's not exactly mohair, like it's very, like a very thin, like it kind of gives the halo effect of mohair, but the composure is 35% cotton, 25% alpaca, 30% nylon, and 10% merino wool. It's a very like interesting mix of a little bit of like everything, but I think that makes it like just kind of fun to work with. I purchased this yarn in Utrecht in the Netherlands when I was visiting, and I just kind of like, it was on sale because they were getting rid of it, so I just kind of bought it on a whim and then started looking for a project. And this was like on my projects that I would like to make in the future list, so I figured why not start, and this is where we are. The only thing I'm worried about is not having enough yarn of this one, so of the merino yarn, because I only have 3 skeins of it, and I think I need at least 4, but I will be able to order it, so I will just need to alternate skeins to finish it. Now I also haven't worked on this like since December, so it's gonna like sit like this and then kind of go over the back. But I am looking forward to like continue working on it and give it some more love, because as you can see, like I even took the needles out without even putting anything in there because I was packing so quickly that I was just like, I need these needles, like pull them out, whatever, I can just, you know, pick up all the stitches, which I might regret a little bit now. But I'm really happy about the color. The color of the Schachenmeyer one is 00101, so it's like this off-white color, and then the Bella yarn color is also color 1, so it's also like an off-white color right there. So yeah, that's my first work in progress, PetiteKnit's Terrazzo neck. Oh yeah, for this I'm using, I believe it's 4.5mm or 5mm needles. I should probably have written that down before I took them out, but it's okay, I'll figure it out. And I just need to give this project a little bit more love, because I also made this like while I was still in Holland on the trip, just kind of like, so I had something to knit. But yeah. Okay, next, and this is kind of like an acquisition. I guess the last one was also like an acquisition slash work in progress. But this one is a really special one to me because my parents actually went to New Zealand, and then I got some yarn from them, which they brought back and gifted me. And it is this yarn. There we go. So it's called Touch. And it is by the beautiful yarn company, and as you can maybe see down here, it is a POSSUM silk merino blend. So in New Zealand there's a lot of like yarns, or there's some yarns that use POSSUM fiber, which I think is so interesting. The blend here is 60% merino, 30% POSSUM fur, and 10% silk. So it's definitely not really a DK weight yarn. I would say it's like sport. It's not really sock yarn. I'd say it's like a sport weight yarn. It does suggest a needle size of like 3.75/4, but it is like, it's 100-gram balls and it runs 420 meters, which is really far. So that's almost like double the length that the, for example, the blue-faced Leicester fleece, the one I made the zipper sweater in, ran. So it's an interesting one because it's a very like light yarn. So they got me 4 skeins of this, which the shopkeeper told them was enough for a sweater or a cardigan. Yeah, and then they got me 3 skeins of grey in the color Ink 17 and 1 orange color as a contrast. And I thought that was a really cool like challenge, because usually the way I do it, I pick a pattern and then I buy the yarn for it. Usually I don't have the yarn and then I need to like find a pattern. But I looked at a lot of patterns and a lot of things because I wanted to make something really nice out of it, because it is a pretty special yarn. It's also like pretty expensive yarn. One of these skeins, they said, was around 50 New Zealand dollars. So it's around 25 euros for one of these. So it is like kind of on the pricier side. So I just wanted to make something really special of it. And the pattern I chose, and I started here. So let me show you. Right now it looks like this. I have kind of started it and gone a relatively far way with it. You probably might not recognize it, but this is the Elisabeth Blouse by PetiteKnit, because I already have this pattern. I made a short sleeve version of it during the summer with some linen yarn, but I always wanted to make a long sleeve version of it because I just really enjoyed making it and I think it just looks really nice. So I took it upon myself to, yeah, use this yarn and make it into like, I guess it's gonna be a lot more of like an Elisabeth sweater. But yeah, so far the wool I find is really interesting because it almost has like, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but it almost has like the halo effect of a mohair. Like, I don't know if you can like see these fibers here. But essentially those are like the POSSUM fibers. And it's just a really gorgeous like stitch definition. I mean, of course this is not blocked yet, right? But just, and it's super soft, like it's not gonna be scratchy at all. But yeah, so this is about half a skein. I still have like this is still my first skein that I'm using, so I'm really not worried about running out of wool or anything. And yeah, so I guess this is my Elisabeth blouse, which is a top-down blouse with the folded collar. The pattern's by PetiteKnit. I've made this before, so I kind of like know what is coming, or like I kind of remember it. It wasn't too long ago that I made it. I am working this on, let's see, these are 4mm needles. And yeah, it's kind of like you go back and forth, you do your raglan, and then essentially once you get to the point where you join in your round, and then you continue in the round. The gauge that I have here is around 22 stitches on 10 centimeters, or 23, so I actually sized down one size, so making the XS, where normally my size would be an S or an M, like between there, but I'm making an XS because according to my gauge maths that is where this gauge with this size will get me. So hopefully that's correct. I will do some try-ons once I get a little bit further ahead. And yeah, so that's my Elisabeth blouse with a POSSUM merino silk wool mix, which I find super exciting. Like, I love the idea of just trying out a new yarn, a new fiber, which I think, like, as a knitter, that's not too common, because like, yeah, you're either using wool or you're using acrylic or using a combination, maybe cotton, but something like POSSUM to me is just so, like, very exotic, so it's just kind of cool to try something new. So my next work in progress is going to be a very long work in progress, and it essentially, like, the idea came because I do both, so I knit and I crochet, but nowadays mostly I knit. So I've just been longing to just crochet something. So what I started doing is I started a temperature blanket because, you know, I've always kind of wanted to do one, but I've also like never really wanted to commit to the whole thing. You're probably like, wow, she's not very far, but that's because we just got back from our trip and I, yeah, didn't have the stuff with me, so I just kind of started. And the way I'm doing it is I'm crocheting one row for each day according to the temperature. So my color of yarn will be chosen according to the temperature that the day had where I was. So people do temperature blankets according to like their hometown or where they were. I opted with the where I am, just because I think it's also like a little bit of a memory thing then. So right now everything is like the hottest color because I was in the tropics. I was like in 30 degrees every day, so literally the averages are like between 28 and 29 every day, and that will probably be like the first bit anyways. So yeah, I will be sharing probably more like monthly updates on this, but this is what it looks like now. I'm opting for the moss stitch, I guess it's called, but I want this to be like my resort to crochet a few rounds back and forth once I'm, you know, just have that itch to crochet something again. So this will kind of be like a side project throughout hopefully the whole year. I did all the planning and everything. The yarn I'm using is this one, so I've talked about this one lots here. It's the Drops Cotton Light yarn, which is a 50% cotton, 50% polyester blend, and I have this at home still because I ordered so much of it, so it's also kind of just a project to, you know, use up the cotton light yarn. I don't love this yarn to work with, like it's okay. I mean, if you're just doing single crochets and chains, which is what this pattern is, it's totally fine. It gets a little bit more problematic with triple crochets or double crochets just because of like the angle of the yarn with the way I crochet, because then the yarn splits. But I've done all my color planning, so I have lots of these colors lying around, and yeah, I'm just kind of excited to have this on the side with this yarn. The needle size I'm using with this is, or the hook size I should say, is a 4mm hook, and yeah, that's also the suggested hook size. And that's, I guess, all there is to say right now about my temperature blanket. It'll be a lot of red rose for the first like 3 weeks because yeah, I've been in the tropics and it's been hot, but now we're back in the mountains, so I guess the contrast will be quite evident. Okay, so that is already it for my works in progress for this time. I mean, I have been, like I said, traveling and so on, so I haven't had too much time to spend knitting or to spend crocheting, but I'm really excited that now normality is kicking back in. We're back to work, we're getting back into our routine. I'm really excited that I get to, you know, knit and crochet a little bit more nowadays that we're back in winter. But yeah, my future projects I think I already kind of shared on here, so I don't want to be too repetitive. I will be working on these, but I also have a lot of other yarn that I bought before our long winter break to make a number of new items, and that also includes a lot from like Tiberghien, so Veronica Lindbergh's new book, which I'm super excited to start knitting with. I kind of like bought the book and I bought a lot of yarn, and then I realized, oh, I don't have the book with me over the break, so I couldn't really like start making a lot of those. But now that we're back, I'm really excited to just kind of get back into the groove. I have a lot of yarn at home right now, so I'm probably not gonna buy too much new yarn unless like something is missing or so. But yeah, so I'll leave it here for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, I would love for you to leave a comment down below, give it a thumbs up, and maybe even subscribe. I'll see you in the next one, and until then, I hope you take care. Bye!